Yeah,
All right.
this is a
Yes,
tough day to do this.
it is. It is.
It's a holiday,
It is a
you
holiday,
know, but
but it's Memorial Day.
the conscious will show. The
Yes, yes,
conscious folks will show, and
yes. One
it's
of the things that just welcome everyone that George Fraser, Dr. George Fraser said to me many years ago, and welcome, I'm Dr. Pam Perry, and I'm facilitating this on Memorial Day, 6 years to the day of the murder of George Floyd that we all saw, the 8 minutes and 47 seconds video that just really shook our world and caused
Mhm.
us to protest and march. But George said many years ago, and I remember he said it, and everything he says is so profound, but this one was really profound. It says, what if Black people were sent here not to be slaves, but to be the conscience of a nation? And what if we were sent here to teach America to live up to its own ideals?
Yeah,
That shook me to the core because I never thought about it. And it was one of the things that I still think about to this day. And
yeah,
when you broke it down, it just really
yeah,
just made me really think about it. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
George is,
Thank you for repeating that.
yeah, I
And
can't forget it.
and there's a deeper philosophical element to that thought, and it's really a question that we all need to ponder and think about. Why did God make Black people first? Right? First human remains found in the Olduvai Gorge in Ethiopia, right? Uh, 300,000 years ago. All right. If you're hanging out in Ethiopia, you're blue black. Okay.
Mhm.
Why did he make us first? And why did he create a female of a species? Black women are the only female of a species that can produce any color human being. White
Mhm.
women cannot do this. No other culture cannot do this but Black women have the mitochondrial DNA to produce any color of human being. That's why we populated the world.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right. So yeah, there's a reason for it. And I think it's in that quote that you repeated.
Well, one of the things that you always do, and we're with Troy as well, but all the things that when you open up, at least you used to, when you open up your talks and you'll say, "Yes, I am Black."
Mhm. Right. In case you were not entirely sure. Right? Not only am I black, but I'm from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. I'm blackety black. Gangster black. They say if you're from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, you're either a thug or a gangster. I'm a gangster. Make
Right.
no mistake about that. We all need to be gangsters, right? But I have a little quote. At the conference last year, we had black T-shirts that said gangster on it, right? But then there's a qualification under that quote, under that word. All earned, never given.
Mm,
We earned
mhm,
it. We
mhm.
earn, right?
Right,
I'm with James Brown. All right, you don't have to give me nothing. Just open up the door. I'll get it myself,
right, right, right.
in spite of the odds. We're all that in a bag of chips. We're powerful people.
Yes, that is. So let me just kind of set the framework for today. And I just appreciate everyone joining us today. Knowing this Memorial Day, 6 years to the day of George Floyd. That was different, even though Black people have been lynched and water hosed and murdered for many, many years, but that just shook us to the core differently. I have George Fraser, who's our very first cover,
Hmm.
and then Troy James, which is our April cover. And he's really going to give a what George talks about in terms of like, what if we were sent? He's going to talk a little bit about the Zephaniah prophecy and what that means. And then at the very end, George is going to talk about a new movement that will really kind of help us really shape what is going on in the world today in terms of elders and intergenerational connections and things that we need to be doing. And then Jade Simmons is going to be joining us at the very end as well. So with that, I want George to really further expound on what was it like in 2020 when you saw that video And then what you said you saw last week, and basically how those two things correlate, like these things need to stop. What is going on? And then what is it that, in the context of what if we were sent, the conscience of the nation? Kind of give us a little bit of what you felt then, what you just saw, and then what is it that we have to do in terms of Black people? What is it
Yeah.
that, what is this, what is the signal? What is the sign?
Yeah. Okay. Are we starting now?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
we
okay.
have started.
I didn't know if you had an official gun that you shot off or whatever the case may be.
The gun has
Uh,
been shot.
well, thank you for that layup. And it's an honor to be with Troy James. I love bow ties, man. As I said to him at the beginning, he's rocking the bow tie. You look every bit of a properly bow tied man, and I love it. Um, and I know we'll have another guest who will be joining us later. Um, what can you say? Um, the murder of George Floyd was really the murder that woke a nation. But the question is, did we stay awoke? And here we are 6 years later, and we must honestly assess the moral outrage, quite frankly, that swept the world and translated uh, into a lasting systemic change, whether America has retreated into comfort and complacency. We don't know. The question is what happened on May 25th, 2020, and the question is what we did with it. It's been 6 years. This incident has been repeated in Ireland just last week. If you looked at the video, it's now viral on social media. It is a carbon copy of a black man accused of shoplifting, grabbed by the Irish police. And they must have been thinking about George Floyd because when you watch the video, it's exactly the same thing that happened. Knee on the neck, a large public crowd around saying, "Get your knee off of his neck, let him up, let him breathe." They didn't. They finally took him to a hospital in Ireland, and he was dead. Exact same thing. So it's it's life all over again for us because that's going to go viral, even bigger. It's going to be the whole discussion will come again. Um, but I think because we are people of faith, I think that faith as the foundation for fighting justice is critical. No question about that. And every great movement of Black liberation in America has been rooted in faith. This
Mhm.
is who we are. From the Black church to the mosque to the temple to spiritual conviction has always preceded political action in our culture. Because this is who we are fundamentally. We are God's first people, and we were sent here for a reason. And I think the reason is to tame this crazy world um, from the least of us, right? Because we are considered the least as Black people. That's evolving and changing. So we cannot sustain though the fight for justice without a renewed covenant between our faith communities and frontline leaders. That's a whole nother subject. There, we are bereft of the kind of leadership we had back in the day when we had the Dr. Kings of the world and so forth. We look around today, who has replaced? What name can we present today that had replaced the gut and gall and risk of a Dr. King and his team. We can name them all. Jesse was part of that. The
Mhm.
Jesse moved on to Chicago and expanded it, and now Jesse is gone. I was at his funeral in Chicago. So there are lots of questions to ask, lots of instructions I think that we must give, marching orders, if you will. Um, and and justice delayed, as Dr. King said, is justice denied.
Mhm.
So um, this is a tough subject to talk about on Memorial Day, and maybe psychologically that was a brilliant stroke because we should remember this. And now it's on the heels of this being repeated in another country, but it's being repeated. And so we have our work cut out for us. I don't want to take a lot of the time. I know we have brilliant minds that will be joining us, Troy and our sister friend. A couple of my friends are on watching, Pamela Lou Hing and Mark, and of course Lowell and
Brother
Jade.
Bedford. Hmm.
Yeah, Jade will be with us. So it's
Yeah.
uh, it's I think that was a brilliant stroke. I thought about it as I was driving to my office. Why did she do it on Memorial Day? But symbolically,
That's it.
it is a conversation that must be repeated and remembered for as long as we exist as Black people
Hmm.
in this world, which will be until the world ends. I
Right.
believe we are incredible. Let me just repeat it again. We are God's first people. We're incredible people, except we don't know that. Right?
Yeah.
That's
The
that
identity.
a huge problem. We don't really understand how powerful we really are.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
We are the children of the slaves that would not die. That we
Mm.
have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa. That we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in the Caucasus Mountains practicing cannibalism, right?
Mm.
We were here 2,000 years before white folk. Oh, let's
Hmm.
just make it plain.
Hmm.
And we're just, there's a reason God made us first,
Hmm.
right? Right? There's a reason.
There's a
And
reason.
we have to live up to that reason. It's bigger and deeper than all of us understand and act on, but I think God is looking to us. And just for everybody who's watching, most of you know, yes, I am Black. In case you were not entirely sure, that's the beauty of our culture and race. We come in all shapes, sizes, skin tones, and hair textures, right?
Mhm.
Uh, there are lots of options out here, brothers and sisters. No need to stray. I, that's a little humor, but yes, I've been married to the same chocolate sister for 52 years,
Hmm.
right?
Amen.
And we got married. She's the same age I am. I'm now 81, so I am officially a seasoned elder.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's a whole nother conversation and movement. I'll talk about that a little bit in something, a movement that I'm starting, as you know, Pam, called, this is the logo for it. It's called Wise Counsel.
Ooh, I love it. I
Wise
love it.
Counsel. You'll
Yes.
notice there's a big, strong oak tree rooted
Hmm.
on a book.
Yes.
You can probably guess what that book is.
Yes. That's the
And
Bible.
then under the logo of Wise Counsel is what? An owl. What is an
Hmm.
owl known for? Wisdom,
Wisdom.
the wise old owl.
I love that.
So, I'll expand on that a
Yes,
little
yes, yes.
bit later. So,
So what?
I think a lot of thunder. There's a lot of thunder coming from Troy and Jade, and I don't. I want to hear what they have to say as well. But there are solutions. We're going to talk about the systemic problem, but there are also solutions to the problem. And yeah, I don't think we ought to spend an hour or so talking about a problem without
Mhm.
presenting
Some solutions.
practical solutions that we must work on, continue to work on. We've worked on some of them, but it's not where it needs to be.
Mhm.
So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
You always say that. You're gonna stick to it. You're gonna stick to it. So, Dr.
Right.
George Fraser, thank you. And I want to really follow up with Troy because I have you all paired together. One, you
Hmm.
were both
Hmm.
covers of Speakers Magazine, but really one of the things that Troy talks about is the significance of beyond the rivers of Cush, right? And then really talk
Hmm.
about the prophecy. And one of the things that I told him that you said all the time is like, what if we were sent here for a reason? What if we weren't just for slavery, but what if we were for another? So I want you to talk about the Zephaniah's prophecy, Troy, and what that is all about. Just so you know a little bit about Troy, you can read about him in the speakers magazines, but he spent 20 years in corporate for Starbucks. He did a all in uh, during 2020. You want to talk a little bit about what that was, so Troy, so that people kind of get a little bit of context about why you're so passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, even though we don't say those DEI words anymore in certain situations, but kind of talk about the all-in thing that you did with Starbucks.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you, and Dr. Frazier, thank you as well. I don't know anybody that sets a table like he does. You know, I just have to try to live into the meal that he actually put out there. Um, 2020 was very important to me because that's when I actually found my purpose,
Mm.
and I found it at the intersection of George Floyd's death and living in Baton Rouge, right outside of New Orleans when we were having a pandemic. And at that time, Roz Brewer was the COO of Starbucks, and I was at Starbucks.
Detroit. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Mm-hmm. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
I can hear you. I was just saying she's from Detroit.
Yeah. So she was the COO at the time. And she convened this Saturday morning meeting. Because I can't remember who had gotten killed at the time. It could have been George, it could have been Ahmaud Arbery. As we know, it all compresses together in that time frame. And it galvanized us to a point of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I immediately looked and she said, we're going to do something. Because at the time, the world wasn't doing anything. We weren't even volunteering, and Starbucks was known for volunteering. And she said, I want you to do something, and I want to do something that brings everyone together. Where, well, for me, my mind went to what do we do best? What do people need in that time as they need now? They need hope, they need agency, and they need empowerment. And it's not a time, it wasn't a time where we could all work individually. It was a time that we needed to come together and galvanize. And what could we all bring that we did best? Right.
Mm.
So I enlisted our licensee partners. I enlisted nonprofits. I enlisted government agencies. And we looked at the marginalized community in New Orleans that was really impacted by the deaths, that needed support with food, that needed support with education, that needed support with health. And we came together and we formed this coalition in New Orleans during the heat of July, where we gave away 10,000 pounds of food, 80 backpacks, medical supplies, health information, school supplies. And we didn't just give it away as people passed by, we engaged with that community. And when I pulled up that morning and saw cars lined up for 2 miles
Mm.
at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning in the heat of July, it's something that Pastor Rudy knows a lot about as St. John's ministry as they feed people each week. I knew that the work was the work of engagement, the work of bringing people together for something bigger than themselves.
Hmm.
It's not to forget what was done. It's not to forget what happened, but it's not to sit back and allow something to happen to you. So through that movement in New Orleans, we built a framework that over 4 years touched 145,000 lives across the country in 83 cities, galvanizing over $4.4 million in in-kind donations to marginalized communities across the country. by coming together as nonprofits, coming together as for-profits, coming together as government agencies in each city to have events that was nothing less than a party in the midst of engaging in the needs of the people in the community. Because I believe when we engage, then that's where compassion starts. That's where understanding starts. That's where hope, that's where love, that's where agency starts. That's where whatever the lies that were told, they cease to be lies, right? I heard Cat Williams say on the show, the devil knows the lie he told, right? And the lie he told was that everything was bad, including Black people. And to Dr. Fraser's, question about Black people being sent here for a purpose larger than slavery, that question for me needed a theological answer and not just a historical one. Because I've been thinking about it, right? We all want this life of Christ, but we don't want what Christ had to deal with on the way. And if we were sent here for a reason, if we're being persecuted around the world, and we have this deep spirituality, then there's something to it. So I went back to Zephaniah, and the prophet Zephaniah of royal lineage, right? Ministering under King Josiah at the time, that was like 600 years before Christ, so a real long time. He speaks in chapter 3 of a moment when God will purify the lips of the peoples so that all of them across nations can call on God's name and serve in his words, shoulder to shoulder. And immediately after that, he says, from beyond the rivers of Cush, my worshipers, my scattered people will bring me offerings. What are our offerings? No more than what we bring to the church every day. What we bring in the face of ridicule, what we bring in the face of people not wanting to see us here, what we bring in the face of people trying to erase our history, right? And the way the New Testament itself reads the Old, the prophecies for a setting is the Cushite diaspora in the Jewish exile communities, right? Returning to God. But scripture's always invited a second movement. And the original word echoing forward, into this season, the prophet himself, he didn't name it. He didn't know that we'd need it. But I think one of those echoes is descendants of Cush who endured the Middle Passage, slavery, erasure, and who are still being called back. You see, we're still bringing offerings of redemption to those that continue to turn it down. George Floyd was an opportunity for redemption. And 4 years later, 5 years later, they turned it down. The 2 white people killed in Minnesota was an opportunity for redemption, and they turned it down. The brother killed in Ireland was an opportunity for redemption, and they continue to turn it down. So, which means the conscience, the conscience of America that Dr. Fraser continues to talk about every time he speaks, it's not a metaphor, right? It's a vocation, right? It has a scriptural witness. And from beyond the rivers of Cush, my worshipers, my scattered people will bring me offerings, and that's our offering. And there's also another piece of this, right? And it says, at that time, I will deal with all who oppressed you. I will rescue the lame. I will gather the exiles. I will give them praise and honor in every land where they have suffered shame. At that time, I will gather you. At that time, I will bring you home. We're in the year of Jubilee. We are in the year of Jubilee. I'm sorry, I almost did my black clap. I almost went there. But we are in the year of Jubilee. And yesterday, right, was a very, very important day. It was Pentecost. So Jubilee is about God returning to us those things. And yesterday was about an infilling of the Holy Spirit to have us ready and prepared for those things. Then we have to look at this time the same as Joshua did when he was one of the spies, and they came back with a good report. Yeah, there's giants in the land, but man, those grapes are too big to carry. So that's where we are now. And that's what this time is about. And we can look at the reality in the lie that the enemy wants to paint that we don't count. But we know we count every day. When I see Dr. Fraser and what he does, when I see Pam and what she does, when I've had a life of knowing Pastor Rudy for almost 20 something years and the weight that he carried at St. John's. If we could count, if I had 50 cents for every pound of food he sold, I might not even be on this call. I'd be talking to Dr. Fraser about finances, you know, what to do with my paper, right?
Right.
But this is a time for us. And if we look at it as an opportunity to engage, then the change that we're expecting, it's going to happen for us beginning this year. And yesterday at Pentecost was a very, very important time, I think, in this season when they're trying to take us back to a place where we were erased.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. This is why speakers speak. So I know, a lot of times, we want to speak, we want to get on stage, we want to tell our testimony, we want to, sound, but we really are speaking to make a change. And that is really, really key. Not that everybody has to run for office, not that everybody has to be a preacher, but you've got to speak up. You have to communicate and tell whatever it is that you need to say that God has said to you to say it out loud.
Yeah.
This day is about reflection, introspection. What do I need to do different? This is a year jubilee. All these thoughts are for you to really take and say, okay, what am I going to do? What does that mean for me? What is it that I need to do next? For Jade, I don't know if I should bring you in right now, Jade. But what that means for Jade, I'm a spotlight you so that so you can kind of talk about what that means for you. Okay, arise and sign. Okay, so I didn't know that's what that said, but that's what, that's what people have to do.
I just want to make Troy, that was a mic drop. Thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to follow you. But you suggested a couple of really powerful analogies. First, Christ, this woolly-haired bronze man brought to earth to serve, to educate. He was then tortured and then resurrected. That really is, if you look at the long history of Black folk in the world, that is our story. We have, in a sense, mimicked his system, right? I mean, just think about it, right? Brought here to serve, to educate, then tortured, then resurrected again. We have endless examples of our resurrection, of our torture. And it's a reason we were first. This DEI thing, yeah, it's gone. But I think it serves us well in a sense that I think it is a new interpretation of who we really are. DEI, to me, means divinely equipped individuals.
Mm.
And that's what we are. We are divinely equipped individuals, right? And no, we were not brought here. We were sent here. I think that is the core reason why we were first. And we must never forget that God had something on his mind when he made chocolate people first. And it's all wrapped up in things that we're saying in this conversation. We just have to recognize that and act like that. So it was beautifully stated, beautifully, the biblical passages was spot on. Thank you. And this is church up in here. But
it is.
I love how you framed it. And there's an old saying, if you get the frame right, the picture is beautiful. You framed it beautifully. Thank you.
Oh, so Jay, what is your take on this, your calling? Because Jade has been in Speakers Magazine as well, and she's a fabulous speaker, concert pianist, classical trained, and all of a sudden now, for the second time, running for office in the state of Texas, mind you. Okay, like one of the most, you couldn't pick a better state, right? If you're gonna, as a Black person, to run for something. So give them a little bit about your reason why and why the U.S. Senate for you.
I think just listening in, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be amongst this company. I make my career as you mentioned, a concert artist turned keynote speaker who brings a piano with her everywhere that she goes, right? So I'm spending most of my time in these rooms of Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, and I have been blessed. Troy, you'll understand this. My gift has made room for me in some very unexpected rooms. And so
Right.
while my early career was on your standard concert halls, I've been honored to play at the White House, at the US Supreme Court, and all the big concert halls. If you had told me back then when all I wanted to do was play Mozart, Chopin, and Beethoven, that the majority of what I do would be about what comes out of my mouth when I speak, I don't know if I would have believed you in the beginning, but I believe that God uses patterns in our lives. And so I've often always been the first, the founder, or at the forefront. And I've also been doing what I had no business doing, right? So in the classical concert halls, I was speaking and then eventually started blending genres. As a minister, I believe the way that I preach is a little bit out of the norm in the sense that I try to make the Bible as practical as possible. And I love using modern day life to show the parallels. And so for me, it's not a what the heck are you doing over here, you pianist speaker? Why are you running for office? I believe purpose is not the thing you do. Purpose is the thing that happens in you when you do what you do. That's what happened in others when you do what you do. So that means purpose gives you permission because it comes with you wherever you go. So when I thought my purpose was to only play piano, my only audience were the people who were signing up for the Mozart and the Beethoven. When I began to combine and blend the talents, it gave me more impact, more reach. And so for me, I understood my purpose was not to play the piano, it was to be an activator, right? To activate people to be the biggest, boldest version of themselves possible. And eventually you have to say, well, what else comes with that? What else do I get to do? What else do I get to shake up? So why not activate a state? Why not activate a nation to behave bigger and bolder? In my case, and I think Frederick Douglass would agree, America lays out an incredible promise. It lays out an incredible premise. It has not lived up to that. So what if my role on this earth, not just as a Black woman, Dr. Fraser, but as specific woman named Jade Simmons, who was designed to be African American and tends to be the maverick who zigs when everybody else zags. What if she was put on this earth in this age to shake up a system that no longer serves its people? What if part of my calling is to demand that a nation lives up to what it said it was going to be in its founding documents? And that's going to require something different of us. So the concert pianist who got the undergrad at Northwestern in piano performance and then went to grad school here in Houston at Rice to get a master's in piano performance, has played on all these stages, said, you know what? We have to study to show ourselves approved. I went back to school last year. I got my master's in government with an emphasis on American government, and I'm in the PhD program now. The reason I went back is not to impress man. We know that he despises us if we don't have any money, and he barely listens to us when we have education. But I needed to know for myself a few things. I had a couple of questions, Pam. I'm a Christian. I'm a minister as well. I couldn't understand how people who claimed to worship the same God that I worshiped were promoting certain political ideals and calling it Christian. I felt like my faith was hijacked. So I decided to go back to a school where I would learn amongst people who we said we believed the same, but we probably sat on different ends of the political spectrum. I needed to hear for myself what was being taught, how it was being digested, and how it was being rationalized. So when George Floyd happened, and I'll confess this, I didn't watch the video. To this day, I still have not watched the video.
Mm.
Because I am a creative, my imagination is running at 100%, 100% of the time. I didn't need to watch it because I'd already seen it. My imagination probably made it even worse than it always already was, and I had a feeling we'd be seeing it again. So to hear Dr. Fraser say that just last week, here we are seeing an almost exact replica, I knew that there'd be way too many opportunities to see it again. I didn't need any help seeing it. My father's a civil rights activist, so it's important to him that we don't hide heads in the sand and that we face things. He took me to KKK rallies when I was a little girl. So I've already seen, I've seen it. We live in Charleston, South Carolina. That's my hometown. So I understand, when we have the people who were murdered in the church there, my father still protests every day in Charleston at the Four Corners of Law there because he says we haven't listened. So while I'm appreciative of the steps we've made since George Floyd, I think, Troy, we leveraged that moment very powerfully. You talked about choosing how we were going to respond. Starbucks, you chose engagement, you chose service. Others choose to build something that didn't exist. Some chose to protest, some choose to reform. I choose to activate. What I fear, though, is in all the good that came out of post George Floyd's death, I think we leveraged the moment. I don't believe we dealt with the moment. And because we didn't deal with the moment, it's how you can get the exact replica, not in America, but in Ireland, on another Black man. And so what I think we have to be careful of now is we took the opportunity, right? And my advice to my keynote speaker friends who suddenly had booming careers focused on DEI was be very careful. This was a moment that was built on obligation and outrage. I'm not sure what happens once the outrage dies down and we become familiar with these scenes. So you mentioned Ireland. I should have known about Ireland. Why did we all know about George Floyd? Because it shocked us. Time was stopped. We were in the middle of COVID. We had nothing better to do. But it says something in a society where that can keep happening and it doesn't stop time. So I believe God gave us a moment. I'm not sure that we did everything we could have with the moment. Dr. Fraser said we still have a lot to work to do. I think that's before we went live. We still have a lot of work to do. And so my job is to ask us, what does the work look like for you now? And can we be okay with the fact that it might not be what you want to do? It might be what you were called to do now. I'm a business owner. I really would like to focus on my business this year. But I know Troy will understand when God tells you it's time to go a different direction, or when you pray the most dangerous prayer, which you all know this prayer, which is, Father God, take me wherever you want to take me. I'll do whatever you want to do. It's the most, I always say, warning, warning. When you say that, he's going to see if you're serious. So I'm running for U.S. Senate. I actually ran for president of the United States as an independent in 2020 when COVID shut down. We are the most successful independent in the history of the nation, but you will never know that because we received zero coverage. We were eligible to be voted on in 40 plus states. And this was with the campaign with the amount of people you could count on maybe 2 or 3 sets of hands. We traveled the nation, gathered petitions in all those states, paid money out of my own pocket to be on the ballot in Oklahoma, was courted by both sides at this time to run for office. Because I was attractive for both sides for many reasons. But I choose to run as an independent because I believe we're now at a place where the two parties have us in a stranglehold and none of them are obligated to serve us anymore. They're entitled to us, but they're not obligated to us. And I think that's a problem. So for me, the independent serves as a reset. So when you say why U.S. Senate, that's strategic because it still allows me to operate on a national stage as well. I would like to be able to speak directly to whatever administration is in place, but also to represent a set of people, which would be in this case Texans, so that they can see change. Texas has been under Republican Senate leadership for 30 plus years. There's no logical way you should have a state that is this large, this diverse, and have one political party holding it. At the same time, I don't believe the answer is to flip it blue, because what you're going to have is an compensation and overreaction that's still going to leave 49% of the state, which is identifies as independent, underserved. I also believe both parties, their people, are being underserved because of the political entitlement to their voices. So I'm running as an independent to give people more voice, more choice. I started by saying that you have to watch the patterns that God uses in your life. And for me, he's always caused me to go against the grain. And so I feel that is the only way that I could run in this season. I think we're missing nuance in conversation. I believe we're missing creativity and solutions. So I'm glad to hear that Dr. Fraser's movement is prioritizing artists as well, because we think creatively. And what other time could use creative solutions more than this one. And lastly, I would say as a person caring for her aging mother, we just recently moved her in after some health
Mm.
issues. I am astounded by the wisdom I still gain from her to this day. Honored that she says she now learns from me, right? She loves to hear me preach, but she also goes back and teaches senior citizens. There's an abundance of wisdom that we as a society are not benefiting from on purpose. We have prioritized youth. I have two kids. My husband and I are proud of our recent graduate and our upcoming eighth grader. But and I'm watching churches, Troy, you might see this too, prioritize Gen Z. We're really wanting to keep these young kids close. But I preached in Chile recently with a church that has an incredible, 5 or 6 generation congregation, but they were prioritizing the youth. And the word that I felt led to say was, do not forget that your calling is to combine the vigor of the youth with the wisdom of what the elders bring. So I think when we begin to bridge that gap, those bookends together, and we're looking to do that in all of the solutions we provide as we run, that is one of the solutions for the future, is to not discard the wisdom that comes from elders. Our society tends to dismiss them. My mother says the hardest thing about getting older is that she feels like she's becoming more invisible. People don't see her like they used to see her. They don't hear her. And my best lessons come from people who are usually 30 to 40 years older than I am, and I'm no spring chicken. So I'm appreciative of the elders that we have. So I'm excited to see the movements that are rising. And my hope is that in this next moment, we don't just leverage it for opportunity, but we deal with the real issue at hand, which in George Floyd's case was simple. It was police brutality. It was violence against Black people. The fact that we still don't have an anti-lynching law just is, I don't understand that. For some reason, we have a problem in this nation addressing specifically the needs of Black people. And I just want to pause and say that because we love saying people of color or minorities, but we have a problem with specifically addressing the issues of Black people. And I believe as an independent, I can do that in a way that others don't get to. So I'm excited to be able to lend voice.
I love that. Jay, put your link in the chat over there so that people can arise and sign. But that is,
yes, that's right. I didn't say we have to. So that Texas, I don't know if you were being sarcastic there, but Texas is the hardest state.
it is.
It sets the highest bar for the independent. We have to gather 81,000 signatures to be on the ballot, and they only give us 30 days to do it. They force us to wait until the major parties have run their primaries and their runoffs. And then we have from May 27th, next Wednesday, until June 25th. We've got an incredible apparatus. We've even built technology to help us do it. That's going to help other independents in the future. But it's a tall order, and arise and shine. Troy will recognize, Dr. Fraser will recognize, but we're calling it a rise and shine. So we're believing
I love it.
that we're going to be able to offer Texas a fresh new option for the first time in its history.
Good.
But let me just say one thing. I'm going to lay this on you. I say it a couple of different ways, and I keep saying it. Ain't nobody saving Black people but Black people. It's been 400 years, and we ain't saved, right? Who are we waiting for? We're waiting for us. That's who we're waiting for.
That's it.
You say that a different way. This is specific to Black people. I asked for flowers, and God gave me rain. Now, what does that mean? It means that God will not give you what you want. He will give you what you need to work for and get what you want. The work is on us. Right? And we are ordained. This is just the time that we're going through. You can call it racism if you want, but it's really fear.
Yeah.
They know who we are. That is their greatest fear. And throughout history, they have done everything in modern history to divide and conquer, to minimize, to degrade, to perform the George Floyd acts occasionally to remind us But we will have to step up, man up, woman up, and get it done. It's the best we've ever been, but it's also the worst that we will ever be. Why? Because tomorrow we're going to be better. And each day we're going to get incrementally better. And they understand that. We are special people. And all throughout history has proven that. So they do anything they can to stomp that out. Make no mistake about that. But we have to be wise in how we spend our time. And I talk about that all the time. And maybe I'm hyper conscious of that, Troy, at this moment in time, because I'm 81 damn years old. Okay. And it's like I blink my eyes, Pam, and I'm 81 years old.
You look good.
All right. And a little rant that I give all the time. It's a cold start. Often I'll look out at the audience and I'll say, you know how fortunate you are to be able to die? Right. It means that you lived, and that to live, you have overcome millions to one odds. Millions to one odds, millions of sperm cells in your mom's body. One is strong enough, breaks away, fertilizes the egg, and you were born. And the human species, Troy, is 300,000 years old. So if you're 50, it took 299,950 years for you to be born. And when you're born, you're given what? Time. Now, you don't know how much time you have. I tell people all the time, Pam, do anything, but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time. And I don't know how much time I have. And time is the only currency. There's a book I'm writing called The Seven Critical Currencies of Life. What is the number one currency? Time. And time is the only currency that you spend without knowing the balance. Right? Use it wisely. I think it was Buddha who said, you are not killing time, Troy. Time is killing you. So these moments are precious. Use them wisely. This conversation, I think, thank you for creating this opportunity, Pam, for all of us to speak this truth to power. But this is a deep conversation. We're dealing with fear. It's one of the most powerful emotions of the five critical emotions of the human body is fear. It's fight or flight, right? So that's what we're dealing with. They fear us. And by the way, they should. They should, because we are all that in a bag of chips. And we will overcome. And we have proven that time after time after time. But dear, you made a very, very, very critical point regarding the youth. And that's really the next big thing that we have to bring forward, is to orient and to educate our young people, generations X, Y, and Z. And this is where wisdom and understanding the importance of our elders is critical. I mean, just a quick statistic. And I often start this conversation with this fact and statistic. What asset do Black people have, live and in living color, right now, that's valued at $23.1 trillion? It is the 3.3 million Black women and male elders, right? Right, living right now, that we do not effectively appreciate, understand, and how to effectively utilize. In fact, this is a Negro problem only in America. It does not exist on the continent of Africa. When I go to Nigeria or Ghana, you don't do anything of significance, Troy, unless you confer with the elders. That is enculturated. When I went to Bombay, India, the same thing. They worship their elders. And I went to Hong Kong and China. The Asians worship their elders. In fact, most Asians live in three-generation households. It's the grandparents, the children, and the grandchildren. And who raises the grandchildren? The elders. So this is unique to us. And it's a powerful asset that we have to focus on going forward. Um, I'm sorry for the interruption, but I had to get that out. It was so, again, Jade, thank you for that. And Troy, this this is um, this is
No,
rich. Thank you.
this is good. I put in Jade's link as well,
Thank you.
for people to, for her percent. And then also too, I put in the Talkadot. I pinned it at the top for Troy as well. And then George, I put in the new link for a Power Networking because I put in the other one, so I think it's PNC Live,
Right.
PNEX.live. That's the new one. So
Mm-hmm.
that is coming up when? When's that coming up?
Well, the Power Network, this will be the 25th year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And so instead of putting on a 4-day conference, what we're going to do in Cleveland, where it all began, where I live,
And
we're
Lowell.
going to have a 25th anniversary celebration. It'll be a big shishi poo poo bougie VIP dinner, right? And the theme of it is the past, the present, and the future, right?
That's when
What
you're gonna debut the
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So, obviously, you will be on the invitation. Everybody on this call will be on the invitation list. But so that's that, and then we will do our conference as we have historically done it for 3 to 4 days next year in 2027,
Okay.
and that'll be the 26th one.
Okay.
And the reason we switched it up a little bit is because next year we'll celebrate the 40th anniversary of Fraser Nation. Okay,
Oh,
so I didn't want to have two celebrations in one.
yeah. Yeah. So
We didn't do
Cleveland. So
that.
Cleveland is this year. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I
yeah,
will be there. I will be
yeah,
there for sure. For
absolutely.
sure. And my cousin Lowell as well. Lowell Perry's on
Mm-hmm,
the line as well. So
mm-hmm.
good.
Yes, I saw him. Yes. Hi, Lowell. How you doing, brother?
So we got a couple of minutes and I
Oh
want
my
to
God.
just kind of like have everyone like say their last comments and then we'll kind of let everybody go to their Memorial Day. This is like traditionally barbecue day or whatever you do on this particular day, but I wanted to get us together to talk seriously. This is going to be recorded, so everyone who registered will get the recording as well. So Troy, I'm gonna have you go, and then Jade, and then George, I'm gonna have you end us with the
Okay.
final words about we were sent here.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. George, 81 years fly, sir. I think that's what we have to say now. Oh, 81 years fly. From here
Yeah,
on out, that's what it is. It'll be 82, 83, 84 fly.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So thank you for who you are, owning your purpose, and unabashedly um, living into your identity as a Black man and as a Christian, right? Because we all have, because we're going through an identity crisis as a people and as a country. And if you don't know who you are, right, and if your identity is tied to performance,
That's right.
then you'll always stay misaligned.
That's right.
Always lean towards the crowd, right? But when your identity is tied to purpose like yours, or also
Jade.
like Jade, yeah, I was trying to, where's the name? Like Jade. Then there's impact that touches other people, because purpose isn't about us. Purpose is about other people. And the purposes of God is always using people for other people. But I'm not a preacher. I don't even play one on TV, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, but I'm just sharing those words. So if there's one thing I leave people with, don't separate the inner work from the outer work. The history we recover, the scriptures we reread, the identity we reclaim, those aren't preludes to actions. They are the action. That is the action. The country won't change without people who know who they are.
That's right.
And that's the work in front of us. It's to recognize who we are. And once we get there collectively, well, they're going to have something to reckon with. Thank you.
Good, good. Thank you. Thank you. Jade, that was excellent. Troy, I put TroyJamesSpeaks.com in there for people to know about the work you do at Valora as well.
Yeah, no, thanks again for having me. I was reflecting on what Dr. Fraser said at the beginning, how we're still looking for a name to put in that slot, right? Where Martin Luther King Jr. was. We haven't seen, I think, the combination. You said gut, and there was another word that I really liked that you used in combination. But I was asking myself, well, why don't we see that or have that be so definitively recognizable? And what kind of came to me even on this call is, I think, and this is no shade because I participate in this, I do think we've spent an inordinate amount of time building personal platforms versus people-powered movements. So when I think about when Dr. King existed, yes, he and Jesus too, right, would have done a lot with social media, I'm sure. But because they didn't have it, it's like the goal of the movement had to stay on the people they were building it for. I'm a person with a personal platform. So again, no shade, but I had to begin to ask myself, where is all the power going? So I think a true powerhouse eventually has to pour power back out, doesn't just hoard the power. So I think the challenge and the call to action today is to ask ourselves, in everything that I've built now, what would it look like to pour power out, not just on people, but the type of power that makes people care about people? That's what a people-powered movement is. When you think about what our civil rights leaders built, yes, they're remembered, but they're remembered because they caused people to behave differently. And I think that's the difference between building a platform that shines on us versus building something now that pours power out into people. So I hope that I will be able to do that. And that will be my challenge to us all, is to look again at where that opportunity lies. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. Dr. George?
Oh, wow. How do you follow that? Thank you for that. You were in the spirit. I think above all, we have got to, and we've touched on this, but I think it bears repeating, we have got to and must instill in the next generation an unshakable sense of identity, dignity, and purpose, so that no system, no knee, and no silence can diminish our worth. This is critical. We must work on family. I'm writing a book on this, The Existential Crisis of the Black Family, Path to Resurrection. Without couples, you have no families. Without families, you have no community. Without community, you have no tradition. Without tradition, you have no culture. And without culture, you have no future. So family, that is the unit that will keep us together and keep us strong. We need each other. We must, as Bill Withers so beautifully said in my favorite song that we close the conference with every year, lean on me when you're not strong. Right. So family is critical. Strengthening, enculturating the things that we're talking about on this afternoon in our young people. They are our future. And these conversations need to be had more often than not. And so, again, Pam, thank you for orchestrating and curating this conversation. I'm honored to be on this illustrious panel, really, with Troy and Jade. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you know what, guys, this has been like the meal. Okay, this has been the meal. I know we're gonna go and eat now, but this has been the meal. So George, Jade, Troy, thank you so much. I told Mark, I said, there's some songs I want to play. I said, Fight the Power. And he says, oh, what was the one you said, Mark? The one that you want to, the
Isley Brothers.
And I said, no, I want to play the one by Public Enemy. He said, well, hold back. I said, okay. But anyway, if you're going to go today, play one of those songs, okay? Just kind of rev your mind up around that, okay? Because this is what we got work to do. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you've given us food for thought and for our heart as well. So thank you all so much for joining us, Troy, Jade, Dr. George. I love sitting at your feet and hearing about the wisdom and I will see you in Cleveland. When is the date in Cleveland, sir? When is your
I'm
date?
sorry, say it again.
When's your 25th anniversary?
It's going to be November the 7th.
November the 7th. I will see you in November. Hopefully there will be no
you'll
snow in Cleveland.
We're dotting I's and crossing T's now, but please be there.
Good. And then you're speaking Juneteenth as well.
Oh, yes.
Okay. They're speaking at that event as well. That is Juneteenth. So that's also in Tulsa.
2 Juneteenths. I'm doing one in Miramar, Florida, and then with JJ. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. So he's 81 and he's busier than most. Okay. All right. This is the thing. But when you're in your purpose, you flow. All right. So God bless you guys. And I will talk with you all later. Okay.
Thank
all
you.
Right. Make sure you hit that link to the top of that as well. All right.
Good afternoon. Enjoy Memorial Day.
Yeah.
All right.
I did my barbecuing yesterday. So.
Okay. Plan ahead. All righty. God bless you.
Cheers,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for